Welcome. In front of me is a VIVO Y31, and today I will show you how you can go through the setup process of this device. So, when you boot it up for the very first time, you should be presented with the same page that you can see on my end, and right here you get to choose your desired language. So let's click on it. I'm going to choose to English. When you select one language, it also gives you regions for some reason. I'm going to select US, but this is an actual region. I think this is more referring to like a dialect, but I never saw any difference between them. So moving on, here we actually have the region, or location more like. So you can select whichever one falls under your region. And there's one thing that I will maybe recommend right here. Choosing specifically a region that might not be part of where you live, but one that is part of European Union. Now, reason for that derives from the idea that European Union has very consumer-friendly laws that they're implementing, and if any of these laws ever come out that some kind of company would only implement in European Union because of the law, but ignore everywhere else, if you select it, potentially you could be included in that change, which, like I said, most of them are consumer friendly, so it could benefit you. In any case, moving on, we have user agreement. So we have things like end user license agreement and privacy terms, which you just select the box right here that you have read and agreed to the above. And you can also tap on the blue text right here to learn more, and here as well to read what you are actually agreeing to. Next, we have set up using another device. Let me bring up another device. Maybe this time around it will show. Oh, there we go. So it pops up with this little pop-up right here. Set up Y31. Now, you can use this if you want to. So if you do set up, which I'm not going to go through, it will just tell you to confirm the screen lock that is used on this device. So I do have a screen lock right here. And once you confirm that screen lock, it might do the number matching, where on one device you have 3 different numbers and on the other you have a single number, and you need to select between the 3 numbers the correct one that is shown on the other device as a single number. And what this will do is instantaneously move all your Google accounts from the other device. So you don't need to sign into them, you don't need to do anything extra. And along with those accounts, typically you have things like your Google Photos that are synced to the cloud, contacts, and so on. So this will automatically let you move majority of the data to your device in a way. Now, I generally like this only for the account moving part of it, not really anything else, as I generally despise the idea of sharing personal data of other people with Google. Now, I'm going to be skipping it here anyway, as I'm not going to be using this device. And moving on, we have connect to network. This step is completely optional, and you can do so if you want to, or you can set it up offline if you want to. But if you didn't insert a SIM card and you didn't connect to network or Wi-Fi specifically, you get this pop-up set up offline, and it gives you a message that you won't be able to sign into Google account, obviously. Restore apps and data, get software updates, and automatically set the date and time. We're just going to continue. Now, obviously, you can connect to it, and you will have a Google login page show up throughout the setup process, as well as have a little bit of a checking device or whatever loading for God knows what reason. So I like to skip it, as it makes the setup a little bit faster. Next, we have screen lock options. So we have under screen lock right here, we will have 3 different options, like PIN, pattern, or password, and you can choose whichever one you want, or you can just completely skip protecting your device altogether. Though I would not recommend doing so, as your phone does hold a lot of your personal information, your photos, your bank accounts, and so on. So if you would ever lose your device, it's probably best that it's protected, so whoever finds it doesn't have easy access to it. An additional caveat is, when you have a Google account signed in and you have a screen lock, if someone finds your device and decides that, you know what, I'm going to keep it, they will need to reset it to basically be able to use it. But by resetting such a device, it becomes locked, meaning that when the reset is finished and the person is going through the setup process, whoever decided that they're going to keep the device, they will need to verify either the previously used screen lock on this device or the Google account that was signed in on it. And this only happens when you have both screen lock and Google account. If you have only one, obviously that won't happen. So anyway, I'm gonna be doing and not as I preach. So reason for that is, again, not my device. Anyway, moving on, we have Google services. Now here I'm gonna spend a little bit of time talking about these because these are egregious. So let's quickly go over them. At least I'm gonna try to go quickly over them. Use location and allow scanning. Both of them at the same time, just because one turns off the other. So if you disable this, what it will do is allow or prevent apps and services with location permissions to use your device's location. Location accuracy uses information about wireless signals such as Wi-Fi, access points, cellular network towers, and GPS. So if you turn that off, it doesn't actually mean that your phone is no longer connecting to any of these and not being tracked. No. Google is always tracking you. Google is always watching. So what it means is that it just prevents applications from doing it officially. But let's be honest, this also doesn't mean shit, because you have creepy fucks like Zuck who, look at this and like, oh, I'm not supposed to do it? Oh, I thought this was a guideline. And I can do whatever the fuck I want because I'm Zuck. So, for instance, things like Facebook completely ignore this bullshit, and they will find alternative ways to track you no matter what, regardless if you want it or not. They don't give a shit about it, which just kind of makes it stupid. This toggle should be turning off location and every kind of thing system-wide, not for applications. You want to turn it off, it's system-wide. But it's Google, so they also want that data. Now, everything here I will recommend turning off, not for the purpose that, it does something, but for the purpose that if anyone ever takes these piece of fucking garbage companies to court for a class action lawsuit, if you turned it off, you might get something out of it. Now moving on, we have allow scanning. So allows apps and services to scan for Wi-Fi networks and nearby devices at any time, even when Wi-Fi or Bluetooth is off. Now, if Bluetooth and Wi-Fi is off, does that sound like something that you could be doing? No, obviously not. If it's off, it can't connect to other devices that use it because it literally needs it to connect to other ones. So it means that this toggle here does absolutely fuck all, because if your Wi-Fi or Bluetooth is acting like it's off but still allowing everything to go through, it's not actually off now, is it? And again, that just goes more in the line of what I was saying for the previous toggle. This absolutely does nothing, and even when you turned it off, it just supposedly prevents applications from doing so, but they will find other ways or just completely blatantly try to go behind your back and I don't know, make themselves into like a system app, and so they can still gain this information. Anyway, moving to the last option, we have send user and diagnostic data. Again, we're going to be turning that off. It's basically BS from Google telling you that, help improve your Android device experience by automatically sending diagnostic device and app usage data to Google. Why? Why would I be doing that? What do I get out of it? And the fact that help improve your Android device experience, I mean, it's not my job to help you improve it. Fuck off from my data. You can pay for it like everyone else does for you. You want it, you pay for it. It literally works for you, so why shouldn't it work for me? If you want it, you can pay for it, otherwise you're not getting it. And furthermore, for this kind of specific bullshit right here, obviously it's in Google's best interest to improve their devices, so you are incentivized to pick one up next time you're buying a new phone. If you're gonna have a horrible experience, you're not gonna buy another Android. You still have iPhones to pick from. So it's not your job to share this. You don't get paid for this. And Google is using this data not to improve your experience. They're using this data to sell it and make money off of it, so they can have another record-breaking profit year, which you get to see absolutely zero benefits off. So yeah, they can pay for it. Now, last thing, which pisses me off the most out of this entire page, is going to be the install updates and apps. It just straight up blackmails you into forcing you to basically agree to it if you want to use your brand new device that you paid money for. So by continuing, you agree that this device may also automatically download and install updates and apps from Google. Now, this is forcing you to accept that Google can change the terms of your purchase after the purchase has been made, at any point in time that they please to do so. Now, to give you a couple examples of this bullshit kind of tactic that was used already, we have Samsung, for instance, that was selling smart fridges, ones that were running, I believe it was Android, it doesn't really matter, but they had their own kind of operating system, and it had this retarded kind of thing where you have a display and you can leave yourself a little sticky note or post pictures to it. Wow, all kinds of great stuff, and it connects to network, obviously. And this fridge wasn't cheap, it was like $3,000 freaking dollars, and Samsung decided, well, that's an expensive fridge, you loser. Good that you bought it. Now we're going to add ads to it. Year after you purchased it. Up yours. So people that obviously got the fridge, originally they purchased it because it was a smart fridge and didn't have this bullshit. And Samsung decided to change the terms of purchase after it was made. And the people that owned that fridge cannot do anything about it. As long as their device was connected to the internet, it automatically got that piece of shit update loaded into their device without their permission or consent or knowledge. And yeah, that's great. Now they have ads on their fridge because it's so smart. It's smart enough to now give them ads. Awesome. Another example of this kind of logic being applied in the wild was with Sony. Sony has their Xperia phones. And these phones are designed to also work with their alpha camera. So you can connect it with a Type-C cable to use the phone as a viewfinder for your camera. And obviously the screens there are calibrated. And it was one of the selling points to buy an overpriced Sony phone just for that reason. Now, Sony decided that because apparently not many people are using this feature, we're going to monetize it behind a subscription. After you purchase this device, which when you were purchasing it, that wasn't the case. But hey, here's an update that you cannot deny, that we're going to force onto your device, and good fucking riddance, deal with this. Pay us a subscription or find something else. And now, also Google is joining this kind of bullshit themselves through this, what is it? Save the children bullshit? Oh, no, they're using different, security, right, that's what they're doing. So they're basically going to prevent you from installing applications from anywhere else other than Play Store or any other official store that they support, as the applications being installed from any of these places need to be signed. What that means is, or what it meant before, I'm going to get into it in a second, is that whoever creates an application for Android, they would need to give away their personal information to Google for some moronic reason. And on top of that, they needed to pay a ransom to Google for them to sign the application. So you, as a user, can install it. And that was their idea of trying to stop malware applications from being installed by just preventing you from installing them altogether. Now, a crazy idea. I don't know if Google has heard about this, but there's this thing called antivirus. It's been a thing for a while. Maybe you should, I don't know, look into that. In any case, with that being said, they went back on it supposedly at the beginning of 2026 that they're not going to do it. And then a couple months later into 2026, they went back on that again and said that they will actually do it again. And in any case, every time they say that they will do it, there's a backlash. And now they went into that they found a way to make it work without preventing you from installing applications, which still, I think requires, no, I don't think it requires any more people to pay a ransom to Google. But Google has changed their mind 3 times at this point in a span of about half a year. You know what? I don't believe any shit that they say. So what you can do is take action in your own hands and prevent this from ever happening to you. So this specific portion, which isn't mentioned right here, this kind of updates and whatever that Google forces on you or any manufacturer uses the OTA update services. These are, to define this term, as over the air, which means absolutely nothing to you probably, but it's one of those systems that are running in the background of your phone, which manufacturers can use to update your device without you even ever knowing that this has happened. That's how it's being done. And if you download a application from Play Store that would allow you to view background processes on your device, you can actually use that kind of application to delete some of these background processes, like the OTA update services that is running in the background. Now, this is also used to give you security patches when there's some kind of vulnerability. But you know what? I'm looking at it in a way that a company being able to change how my device works after the purchase on whenever they want is a little bit of a vulnerability to me. Actually, much bigger than being worried about malware applications that I have never managed to find, and I install them mostly outside of Play Store. So if I didn't manage to find a malware application, this piece of shit is more of a malware to me than the actual applications that have it. So I will be deleting this shit on my phone. Anyway, moving on. We have keep the system up to date. Cool. We can install it manually or not. We can do it automatic if you want. Send user and diagnostic data. Now this one is from Vivo. So again, Vivo wants the same bullshit so they can also monetize it. Yeah, I'm going to disagree to that one. You can pay for it like everyone else does. Just you gather it so we can sell it. If I'm going to be sharing my data, it's for the same reason, to make money off of it. And lastly, we have select a system navigation mode. So we're going to select whichever one we prefer. I prefer gestures myself. And Funtouch OS is ready to go. Let's click on get started. It was such a fun setup. And there we go. Now, with this being said, I hope you found this very helpful. And if you did, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and thanks for watching.